here's somebody who's referring to the previous discussions about karma and saying, I'm not able to make good personal examples for the minds of covetousness, malice, and wrong views. And so how to work that. So he says, while covetousness, malice, and wrong views are associated with attachment, animosity, and confusion, respectively, they are more specific and intense forms of those afflictions. The mental factor of attachment, this is, I think, taken from, Foundation of Buddhist Practice. So maybe this is I put this response in with the question. Okay. So the mental factor of attachment becomes the karmic path of covetousness when it has the wish to take possession of property belonging to others. Covetousness is not a random thought of attachment, but the greedy desire to possess something that belongs to someone else. This desire has been cultivated and increased by repeatedly thinking how nice it would be to have that object and planning how to obtain it. This thought now has the power to generate a rebirth. So just to pause here, when we're talking about the three non-virtues of speech, those three are karmic paths. Three of mine, thank you. Those are karmic paths, and to be a karmic path, it means that you have to have 4 conditions, practiced and included in it. So you can see right there that it's not just a simple random thought of attachment or of anger or wrong views. But it's something that you have the object, you have your motivation, you've identified the object correctly, you're deliberately thinking about that, you've concluded it and, have a plan now how to get what you want. Okay, so you can see it's just not a random affliction. So although those 3 mental ones, they are afflictions, they're not karma. They are karmic paths, because karmic paths are what create the cause for another rebirth. Okay? So look in Foundation of Buddhist Practice. If you read that, that will be very helpful. Okay, so coming back to covetousness. It may also instigate someone to steal or lie to obtain the object coveted. The mental factor of anger becomes the karmic path of malice when it wishes to inflict harm on another being or wishes that person to suffer by another means. Okay, so that person's really getting into it. You're really meditating well on revenge. Okay? The milder anger that simply wants to avoid someone we just quarreled with is not the karmic path of malice. The mental factor of wrong views becomes the karmic factor of wrong views when it strongly holds an incorrect view, such as believing the 3 jewels, the 4 truths, and the law of karma and its effects does not exist. Here, someone defiantly thinks, it doesn't matter if I exploit the other person, I won't suffer any consequences. Or killing heretics is virtuous. Or neither rebirth nor liberation exists. Okay, so such ignorant views lead to unfortunate rebirths in future lives. Okay, so that directly, is a path of action, a karmic path. But they also say that wrong views is, although it's only mental, in one way it can be considered the worst of all of the 10. Because when we hold very strong wrong views, then we give ourselves permission to do all the other 9. because we don't, see them as anything negative or anything harmful. So we just kind of dive into our non-virtue wholeheartedly. A related question is, normally we say purification weakens or delays the strength of the result. So in the case of the three of the mind, is it correct to say that we are weakening the thought that triggers the intention, such as covetousness, malice, or wrong view? No, you're weakening the karmic seed that could ripen in a lower rebirth. If you're doing purification for the 10 mental ones, okay, since they're all karmic paths that are leading to an unfortunate rebirth, what you're doing is weakening that karma, or delaying the ripening of that karma, or making it, when it ripens, to be a shorter result. Of course, if you're really thinking about what you're having regret for, then you will start to, train your mind in the opposite way of covetousness and malice and wrong views. And that training your mind in the opposite way is what counteracts those afflictions. Okay? This is related to what we talked about before. Okay, that question we covered. Okay, here's another one. So my question pertains to Dharma joy or Dharma happiness. In my experience of offering dana and service for Dharma work, such as organizing Dharma talks, serving teachers, and doing proofreading, I have noticed that the Dharma joy itself is also impermanent. Well, I understand that material joy, I think she means joy from receiving material things, that will cease when the causes cease. I do not understand why my own experience of Dharma joy also ceases, because isn't the nature of the mind joy, bliss, and luminosity? She's been reading too many Hindu things. The nature of the mind is clarity and cognizance. Okay, so it can know an object, reflect an object, and then engage in that object. But the nature of the mind is not itself bliss and joy and, like that, okay? We can transform our mind into something blissful, but the basic nature of the mind is neutral. Okay. So she says, of course, I understand that the cause of the Dharma joy has ceased. So logically, the Dharma joy itself should also cease. But isn't pure joy an innate part of the mind? No. Okay? So we have to transform our mind into virtue. Okay? If the innate quality of our mind is joy, then when you just sit there with a neutral mind, it should be neutral, it should be joyful. Yeah, and if the innate quality of the mind were joy, then how would you ever be unhappy? Okay, so that doesn't work. Okay, so in terms of the losing your Dharma joy, we have to remember that the mind itself is an impermanent phenomena. Okay, so as living beings, we may, she takes, this is somebody in Singapore, she takes great delight in offering dana, offering service. She's involved in helping us do proofreading and stuff like that. And so that brings her a lot of joy. And that's a wonderful kind of joy, because it's the joy from creating virtue. and that's something I really encourage everybody to feel, when you do something virtuous, feel happy about doing it. Yeah, because if you're not happy about doing a virtuous action, then you don't really have a virtuous motivation. It's like, oh, I'm washing these dishes to benefit all sentient beings. That's not going to be a virtuous intention, whereas if you have some oomph to it, I get to contribute to the well-being of others, and I'm going to think that I'm cleaning the afflictions off of sentient beings' minds, then, that builds you up, and that's quite good. So, because our mind is afflicted, we can't sustain that joy forever and ever, okay? Once our mind, the afflictions are reduced and they won't arise so easily, and then especially after we attain the path of seeing and we start to be able to eliminate them, then the duration of the Dharma joy will really increase, and when there's no more afflictions, then the Dharma joy remains steady. And when we eradicate the cognitive obscurations as well, then you can really be blissed out, okay? Much better than any kind of drugs. Drugs is a really good example, and alcohol too, any kind of intoxicant, of, seeking happiness in the wrong place. Yeah. Shooting yourself in the foot in an attempt to gain a reprieve from suffering. So that's quite sad, but Dharma joy, we can slowly prolong it and on as we go. Then there was one more question, the last question, that somebody wrote in, and they're saying, I don't understand how we can make offerings to the Buddha at our heart, and I think, by implicitly this person is saying, how can we make offerings, to the Buddha at all? Because we're not. She's saying we don't, or I don't know, it may be a he who asked the question. It's a he, it's a man. Okay, so he's saying that, I don't see the Buddha, I haven't met the Buddha already passed away. How can I make offerings to the Buddha? Okay, and I'm not offering to a ceramic statue or, a bronze statue or a painting or something like that. So what is this about making offerings to the Buddha at your heart, or, to making offerings to the Buddha at all? Okay, so there's a couple of things here. One is that according to the Mahayana tradition, although Shakyamuni Buddha, the physical manifestation of Shakyamuni Buddha, that particular emanation body has ceased and has gone into parinirvana, the continuity of the Buddha's consciousness has not ceased. Okay, so the Buddha is still around, maybe not in a flesh and blood body that we can see. Yeah, there may be other emanation bodies of Buddhas around, but they don't identify themselves, but they're working for the benefit of sentient beings anyway. And so don't think that there's no Buddhas who are existing. There's still lots of Buddhas. Otherwise we're left with saying the Buddha worked for 3 countless great eons to attain awakening, and then he was able to benefit sentient beings for 45 years as Shakyamuni Buddha, and then he ceased to exist. Yeah? So no, that doesn't work. Yeah? And so again, from the Mahayana viewpoint, the continuity of consciousness, there's nothing that can impede the continuity of consciousness. When the consciousness is affiliated with obscurations, there's something that can remove the obscurations, but leaves the clear and cognizant nature of the mind there. Okay? And then in the case of, the holy beings, that clear and cognizant mind has been transformed into virtue, and so they continue to exist, even though their physical bodies, they may have left them in this world. Okay? So that's one point. Don't think that we live in a universe that's very cold without any holy beings in it, that they all kind of, died and disappeared. That's not the case from the viewpoint of our tradition. Okay? Second of all, then you may say, well, okay, but I'm offering to a Buddha at my heart, or there's a statue there, and, I just can't resonate with that. But think of it in another way, okay? If you offer to the Buddha at your heart, that could symbolize your Buddha nature. It could symbolize the Buddha that you in the future are going to become. So that could be called the resultant refuge, that the Buddha that we will and can become. We make offerings to that. We can also think that we're making offerings to Shakyamuni Buddha. Now you're going to say, well, Shakyamuni Buddha in my heart, if I cut it open, No, we don't have to be so physical about things, yeah? And often, and also, because our mind works a lot in symbols, okay? For example, if you're traveling somewhere away from home for a long time, you may take pictures of your loved ones with you, yeah? When you, in the evening on your business trip or whatever, you look at the pictures of your loved ones, you feel love. Yeah, don't you? Are you feeling love for the photograph? I don't think so. You're feeling love for what that photograph represents. Yeah, the people that you're close to. So in the same way, the statue of the Buddha, the visualized image of the Buddha at our heart, those are all like the representations of the Buddha that help us generate the same kind of feeling that we would if we were actually with the Buddha. Okay? Yeah, is this making some sense to you? Because we use symbols and representations all the time. Yeah, you read a letter somebody wrote you a long time ago, and you can have a lot of fondness and love for them. Even that person died. Yeah, so it isn't the letter that you're having fondness and love for. It's what that represents. Okay, so the same thing, these different symbols represent the Buddha's qualities, and we have love and devotion and reverence for those. And so, of course, we want to make offerings to the Buddhas who possess those wonderful qualities. Okay?